Today, I'm going to talk about why you don't want to make a 20-year plan. You need to make 5-year plans instead because that's what's going to end up happening anyway. So let's kind of take you through the uh, timeline of when you started out in high school. In high school, you're thinking about just getting out of high school, right? So you're not really planning much. Or at least most of us don't plan a great big, here's what we're going to do till retirement. We're just planning on what are we going to do. We're going to go to college, going to go to trade school. Are we just going to get a job working at wherever? So let's just take the path if somebody decides they want to maybe go to the military. So we enlist and then you go in, you're in there for 2 to 4 years, something like that, depending what you do, and you plan on well, I'm going to retire from the military. You're going to stay in for the 20 years, and then something changes and you get out after 5 years, or maybe a little bit less, a little bit more, and then you say, well, what am I going to do now? It's like, well, let me go to college, and so now you're in your mid 20s, and your 5-year plan is to go to college and get a degree, and then get a job after that. You haven't really planned 20 years in advance. You plan the next 5 years. So then you go to college, and now you're out of college. You've been to the military, you're out of college, and now you graduated. So now you're trying to find a job. So you find a job going somewhere, and maybe you're getting married in between there, and your job takes you out of state. You get married for, and then you're out of state, and your wife gets lonely for coming home. So here you go. You planned on going there and staying there and working until you retire, but no, the things change. You come back to where you're from, and you plan on that, and so now you're starting to have kids coming, and now you're working, and you might be working, at one job for another 5 years or 10 years, maybe, if you're lucky. You plan on retiring there, and you get laid off, so you find another job. Well, in the meantime, you haven't really built up any retirement. You've put a little bit into your 401k. That's you're planning on doing. So you've got a little bit, you've transferred around, and you're starting to build up a little bit of 401k, but you have no company retirement. And then you get into your 30s, and now you're in a job, and something comes along, and you have more kids, or you have another opportunity that you change jobs again. Uh, a lot of, when I was younger, it was nothing for somebody to start a job and work their whole career there. Well, nowadays it's you're in and out. Younger guys now, they're at one place for maybe 3, 4, 5 years, and they find something that pays a little better, and then they move on. So you're moving on to different things, and you're there for a while, and then you get, and for one reason or another, you end up getting a different job. Well, it's not going to build up any company retirement. You build a little bit of 401k, um, and then something happens. Maybe your wife decides going to leave you. So now, then all your retirement is now gone for one reason or another. You've lost all the 401k. So now you're kind of starting all over. Now you're into your 40s, and now you're just trying to get by, because you're paying everything out to child support and trying to make a living for yourself, and finally get done with the child support, and you say, you know what, I want to get back in the field that I actually went to college for, because I haven't used it in the last 10 years. So you decide, well, I'm going to go back to college again. And so now your plan is to get out of college again, and get a job. So then you get a job, and now you're in your 50s, or late 50s or early 60s, and now you got yourself another job. Well, you don't have any 401k, you don't have any company retirement, you haven't got a 20-year plan, because every time you start a 20-year plan, it gets changed to a 5-year plan. So now then you're working, and then you leave that job, you got a little bit of 401k left, and now your retirement age, and you retire. Now what are you going to plan on doing? You're in your 60s. What is your 20-year plan when you're in your 60s? Well, 20-year plan when you're in 60s is still be alive in 20 years. That's the thing. In the 80s, there's a high number that may get past the 80s and 90s, and even to a few into 100. But your 20-year plan then is well, still be alive. Well, you really have a 5-year plan is what you've got. It's like, what am I going to do in the next 5 years? Um, do you want to look for another job? Well, then, the situation I was in, somebody asked me, well, what's your 20-year plan? I'm 66. To still be alive is my plan. That ain't what I said in the interview, but so you have to kind of go back. What's my 5-year plan? What I'm going to do when I'm 70, and then you get to 70. Which I'm not there yet, but you get to 70 now. What's your plan for the next 20 years? So you don't have one. You're not even planning 10. You're still planning 5 years at a time, and you get to your 75, and you're still, you're not going to plan 10 years in advance. You're going to plan, sometimes you're planning 1 year in advance or day by day, what I'm going to do to have fun. So when you get to retirement age, your plan might be to go work for, someplace part-time or even full-time. But now then you've spent all this time working all your life, and now you would like to spend more time with your family and friends. So you start looking for something else you can do on your own. And that's kind of what I did. I looked for something else to do, but it takes a lot of work, and that's something you're used to doing. Is because you've been working for 50 plus years, so working's not a problem. You just find something else to go do, and hopefully you can have enough income to do that. But that's kind of why don't plan 20 years in advance. Plan your next 5 years, and then readjust your plan as you need to. You might have a goal that you say, okay, I want to, like when I was in my 20s, I want to retire at 55. Well, I kind of blew past that, and there's like no way I was going to retire because I didn't have the right plan in place. So if you want to do a long-term plan, you need to take a look what the end result is and work your way backwards. Okay, how am I going to get there? I want to do this. And that's the part that most of us and school does not prepare you for is what do you want to do in a 20-year plan, or even what do you want to do when you retire, whether you retire at 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, when do you want to retire, and what do you need to do to get there? What do you need to have once you're there? So and even when you plan a time when you're going to have you're in your 20s, and at retirement, what do you want? Well, you can't plan a 20-year plan or even a 30 or 40 or 50-year plan, because you haven't broke it down. What are you going to do at the end? How are you going to get there? So you need to break it up. If you're going to have a 50-year plan, what is your 25-year plan? What is your 10-year plan? What is your 5-year plan? And what is your year plan? So you need to plan it down into small chunks, and that's something that I wish I'd have known when I was in my 20s or even before, how to do that. That's something that was never taught, and so any young guys that are doing this, sit down with somebody and what is your goal? What do you want to do? And the other question I had at one time was that I think is a really good question is, if money was not an object, what would you do? Think about that. If you could do anything you wanted, didn't have to worry about money, what would you do? And then write that down, and then go from there. And okay, how do I get there? That's the thing that you got to figure out is, how do you get to where you want to go at the end? And that's the challenge. And find a mentor or a coach or somebody that can help you through that. But thanks for watching. If you made it this far, that's not my rambling. Make a comment below. What has been your 20-year plan, or 50-year plan, or your 5-year plan, or even your 1-year plan. Write down. I'd like to see what everybody else thinks about what their plans are and how well it worked out, especially if you've gotten to like my age, and what did you plan for? What did you not plan for? What could you have done different? And maybe we can help out some of the younger people to not be in a situation where like I where some of us are in, where we got to retirement and there's no plan. You're just stuck with whatever Social Security decides to give you at that time, which constantly changes. So thanks for watching, and like and follow, and take care, and comment on what you think.